So we're always talking about things like learning clogging, learning steps. We talk about choreography all the time, but one of the other really vital components to clogging is cueing. So I thought today we would share a little bit about cueing. And how this came about was because I happened to watch Nev's video of his group doing a demo in Creswick. And I thought, wow, his voice is so clear, and not only that, it just sounded calm, but at the same time, it had all that energy carrying through with his voice. And then I think it was the same week that I saw Nev's video. I saw Jan's video of her doing a queuing workshop in her somewhere in
Mhm.
her home with her group of dancers. And then I thought, that's great. That would be something that would be beneficial to a lot of people. So I thought I'm going to invite them both to share with us a few thoughts, some of their ideas, how they do things. Okay. So maybe we start off a little bit like of an introduction from the both of them. So maybe I'm going to go to Nev first. And Nev, if you could tell us how you started queuing and how long were you clogging before you started queuing?
I, I was clogging probably about 4 years or so when I moved to Melbourne, and then sort of got thrown in the deep end with starting the queuing the clogging, but um, I was already starting to teach line dancing here in Melbourne anyway, so that sort of helped boost the confidence. And just by watching and listening to other people doing the line dancing, I suppose that helped bring out my vocal characteristics. I never used to be a loud, outspoken person. I think it's since I got to Melbourne that happened. So, um, and just, I mean, Rainbow Cloggers didn't have speed adjustable or anything. So we used to just, we'd work on the workshops and learn the dances. And by the third week, you had to do it uncued. That's all there was to it. And then we'd have a social on the fourth week. And all the dances you'd learn, you'd dance uncued. So queuing sort of was a slow process, and probably more when I got to Outback when we no longer did queue, dancing by memory. It was queuing everything. That's when I started to sort of come into the fold. But I've always liked the Madonna headset because then you don't have to try and find your hand and everything.
How about you, Jen? When did you start queuing and how long were you clogging
Oh,
beforehand?
well, I was, well, like Nev, I was thrown in the deep end, but it was a much longer after I started clogging because I had probably been clogging for 15 years or more before I ever started queuing. And
Wow.
it was, and yeah, and I mean, I queued a few things back in Canberra, but it was only when I moved to Tasmania and started my own group that I was thrown into the deep end and had to do it. And it was just I was the only one, so I queued everything the whole time. And it's really just practice, and I got lots and lots and lots and lots of practice.
Yeah, definitely practice.
It, yeah, it is.
Sounds like really
But yeah,
intense
I
practice
had a
too.
long introduction.
So you guys had quite a different experience. One, you've been clogging for about 4 years, so you're
Yep.
a confident clogger, but not like a 10-year clogger. And then you've got
No.
Jan that had so many years of clogging first.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
Nev,
when we were Gina would only cue occasionally anyway, so it was all meant to be learnt by heart. So
Mm.
that was a different era in clogging. Of course, that's a long time ago.
not not like these days. We do have to queue, and queuing is such a big part of it these days. In not only in class, but then when you go to socials, it's nice to have the different people come up to queue, and then as part of the participants, you get used to listening to different people queuing, and that makes it interesting as well.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
that's why I think there is interest in queuing, but we don't talk about it so much, but it's something that more of us should get into. So that's what I'm going to try to get us into here. So maybe we can start with Nev. Do you want to just run through with us some of the mechanics of queuing?
I think um, I find it very frustrating when someone cues when the step is due to start. So you're already doing the double toe before you. So I've always been good with rhythm. Um, it's been a natural thing in me. So I was, I suppose Gina started with that, making me do the rhythm up the front because the rest weren't dancing on time. So to actually get into the calling of it, uh, I can't. I can't remember exactly how I started doing it, but it's always like a beat or something before you actually are ready to go. And of course, you get those long steps that are a 4 beat step, but they've got 48 words in their name. And you do have to shorten that. There's no way around it. And, but yeah, I normally try and cue probably a full beat before the step is actually due.
How about you, Jan? Have you got any thoughts about the actual queuing? What would you do? Some of the tips and tricks?
Oh, well, when I'm queuing, I try to think in 8 beat grouping. So, if you're looking at a cue sheet and there are 2 4 beat steps, I would say them together.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can tell when someone's choreographed something and has never cued it because they will have ridiculously long steps that
Yeah.
no one could possibly say. And I absolutely think that anyone who choreographs a dance should have to be able to cue it before they produce it, before they present it to anyone else. Because, like, how can you expect anyone to dance your dance if it can't be cued? It's all very well to have a wonderful dance that may be a demonstration or something, but for the bulk of us who are into just social clogging, all those dances need to be cued, and that's something that needs to be kept in mind.
Yep.
It's
I'm
I
going to get
know.
in trouble here, but I'm going to say sometimes I think of a really cute short name, but it doesn't fit with, how our step dictionary works. And we've got
I
those
know.
mother steps and all that comes into it. So sometimes that comes into play. So what I do if I have to cue a really long thing, if it's just in class, it's fine because you tell them this name is, brush over, turkey twist, half left or something.
Yes.
And it's so many words, but it's only 2 counts. So I'm just going to say turkey turn. And then I sort of do that sort of modification in class because, queuing, the most queuing happens in that same class, in that same
It
environment.
does. Yeah.
Sometimes, you go to socials and other places where people are not going to understand that. But I think you have to work to the majority of the time that
Yeah.
you're working with people. So that's how I end up doing things. Or
I
sometimes you
do.
can say if it's a Samantha something something, I will start saying the Samantha. And mine is I try to go 2 counts before the step starts. And I'll say the word Samantha, and I know it's not finished, but everyone starts doing the Samantha, and then I can finish the rest of the name. So sometimes you can get
Yep.
away with
Yep.
that kind of thing.
That's all right if the step is
The step
named
is
like
long.
that, but when you've got something like a twisty four that doesn't start with any twisting, it starts with two double steps. There are some good ones. I have to say and also for comedy, I say things like boom boom flap flap instead of in lonely drum for 2 boom steps and 2 bonanza flaps. I'll
Oh,
say it the
yeah.
first time in class. I'll say it the first time, and then I'll say boom boom flap flap, and because they know what to do. But you can't do that in a general
Acclamation.
audience.
Yeah.
No. And I
I
think
think
also we have to consider for some of us that we've been queuing for a while, you're more comfortable doing that kind of thing. But for someone that might be starting queuing your first time, you're there with that sheet and already it's shaking and you tend to want to read every word that's on the page. So I think maybe a way to
Yep.
overcome that sort of an issue, and it is something that is sometimes unavoidable in queuing, is that you need to know the dance that you're going to cue. So when you're starting out, don't pick up don't let someone take a random
Absolutely.
dance and say, cue this, cue something that you know, and then have in your own mind already what you're going to do for the trickier parts of that
Yep.
cue. So for example, if you're practicing at home, you can't just use your eyes and read, yeah, I know what these steps are, because it's not just a matter of whether you can do the step, it's whether you can do the step, make your mouth say it. So when you practice, I think it's best when you're starting to practice aloud by yourself with the music. And that sort of takes away the nervousness a little bit, so that you know what to do when, even if you're just cueing in class, it's still nerve-wracking sometimes, but you'll
Yeah.
know what to expect.
Yeah. So that's part of the reason why I did the little cueing workshop I did it at my house. And I was actually surprised that 7 people showed up. I mean, two of them had cued before, but 5 of them were brand new, and it was out of the class situation. And so there wasn't the noise of people dancing in the background, and we just did it in my little garage studio. And they got a real lot of confidence from that. And like, all of them said to me, it's not as hard as I thought it would be. And 4 out of 5 of the brand newbies have cued in class since then.
Well, that's really good statistics. That's
I know,
4 out of 7.
great.
Yeah.
Well, but two of the 7 have already cued in class. Like, one is Sally, and one is Joy, who I've never seen cue, but she's always run the class when I've not been there. So she's cued things when I've been there. So that was 2 of 7 people, and the other 5 had never cued anything before.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's really good.
Speaking of the mechanics of how you do it, it also comes down to the countdown of counting into a dance. I normally, I'll do it several ways. If it's advanced, I'll do N1 and 2, or and a 1E and a 2E, just depending on what's happening. If it's a normal clogging dance, I normally count 4 down. Now, I know most people do 5, 6, 7, 8, but I do 4, 3, 2, basics, like before they've even got to it. So
I can never do the countdown. I've always tried it, but I can never do it. So I always go, and 5 and 6, and then I say the step, so I'm thinking in beats of 8. That's the way I kind of normally do it.
Yeah, I think
it's whatever works for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like I said 1 beat, but I suppose I'm probably more 2 beats before the step is.
Well, you would normally need 2 beats to say any of the step names. I mean, they're so long.
So I think, but trying for a new person trying to get into the habit of counting down where the dance starts will also get you into the habit of where the step is going to be. I know that sounds a bit weird, but that's how I work on it. If I I've been doing it so long now, I can't remember how I actually picked up the habits, in reality, as to how you do it, but it is a cool.
So, Nev, you had that nice, clear voice, really crisp and, still calm. Can you tell us a little bit about how you modulate your voice, what you do with it?
Well, I think mine comes down to my dad did a public speaking course when he was later in life, and he kept telling us how to do that. You've got to speak to the other side of the room. Don't speak to someone that's next to you. You've got to speak to someone on the other side of the room. The whole thing about keeping your head up, because the minute you look down, your voice goes all out of whack. You do have to speak as though you're speaking to someone that's half deaf. There's a few people that I speak to that are like that, so that sort of helps.
But at the same time, you got to also be aware of the microphone, not depending on your voice as well. You can't go too because you have to manage it with the volume overall of it. And I'm gonna ask Jan as well, because I think women probably struggle a little bit more with, not all women, but just with the softer voice. So maybe Jan, you can share a little bit about what you've done.
Oh, and Look, I think we have to learn to use the bass and treble adjustments on our speakers, because a lot of female voices are squeaky and they can't be heard at the end of the room.
Yeah.
I've got a fairly low voice, so mine's okay, and I'm a bit of a shouter. So I have to turn absolutely everyone who cues on my equipment. I have to turn them up louder than me, but also we need to learn how to adjust the bass and treble things. Look,
Yes.
I know nothing about this stuff, but I just know there's a couple of knobs and you need to twiddle them to get the sound.
I think at Cloggers, Leanne and
Yes.
Vicky, they are super expert at doing that. I also am no good at doing that. I do my little bit of fiddling here and there, but probably we'll need to get some of their expert advice on the technical side of things.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, when you did your workshop with your cuers, did you have everyone straight away use a microphone, practice
Yes.
holding it up and
Yes, I did. Like I actually found some notes that I had from a queuing seminar that I think Leanne had um, conducted at Storm King one year. Like they were the only notes I could find. And I also asked her if she had any from the recent Clog Ed, but she really just sent me an email with her thoughts off the top of her head. And I could tell when I saw the thoughts off the top of Leanne's head that the notes I had from the workshop were Leanne's, because they were saying the same thing. And, everything I know I've learned from Leanne, basically. And, a lot of it's about breathing. A lot of people don't understand diaphragmatic breathing. They're breathing very shallowly, and you don't want to have a lot of breath coming out of the microphone. So you need to be able to breathe in and then say all your cues in your out breath without in between, because nobody's going to understand that. So it's about understanding breathing, and also the technique of just holding the microphone and adjusting your voice for the sound equipment. But yeah, everyone other than me, I must be right in the middle of the road, because I have all my equipment set on the 12 o'clock dials for everything, and it's fine. And anytime anyone else uses my equipment, I have to turn them up, adjust the dials.
so
Yeah.
I think
Everyone who cues needs to understand their own settings. They need to understand if they need their bass turned up or their treble, whatever. Yeah.
well,
But
I
I
think
think that
I think I probably need to understand that a bit more myself as well, because if I want to get more people, queuing in class, I better learn a little bit more about that. So I think what I'll do is I should get on to Leanne and Vicky for some of those notes about
Yeah.
not just the queuing, but the setting up of this, and then we can share that with everyone. So
But
that if anyone else is going to try it out.
It depends on your equipment as well. Like
Yeah.
everyone has different equipment, so you have to understand your own equipment and how to adjust it.
And a thing with queuing is also definitely if you have the cue sheet in front of you, it's all good for those that have a good memory. But if you've got the cue sheet in front of you, I tend to roll my thumb down like that and
Yes.
push the cue sheet up, so then I'm following. And then when I get to the other column, I move my hand further across so that my thumb follows it down. Because you get distracted, you start having a bit of fun, and it's like,
That's right.
where was I? Where was I? And if your thumb's close to it, you'll soon pick up roughly where you were. Especially with some of these running orders that go for 4 minutes, and you got to do part A 12 times and part B 7 times, and then 28.
Who writes a dance like that? That's what I want to know.
So I think you touched on something, because you say you were getting carried away and this and that. So I had this thought as well, that we should share with people that queuing is not just the baseline of queuing is so that you can lead everybody else, tell them what to do so that they can all do the routine. But then there is more to it than just that. Like the next level to that is that you're enjoying yourself and you impart that energy and that fun to the room, and it communicates, the joy of
Yeah.
clogging.
Yep. I think the more you start to enjoy it, the more relaxed you get. And that can be
Yeah.
just having a silly joke before you start queuing,
Yep.
just something to break the ice before you start will settle your nerves when you want to start queuing.
Yeah. So you settle yourself, but at the same time, once you're settled, you're calm, your voice is calm. And when someone listens to your voice, they're not going to feel panicked either. Do that step, whether they know the step or not, it could be a tricky one. But if you said
Yep.
it in a calm way,
Yep.
they're not going to be panicked when they do it. And then I think, that after that, there's another level where it becomes entertaining. Some cures
Yep.
are really entertaining.
I think it is part of the game. Because it's nice just to cue a dance, but your students, your people that you're running in that hall, whether they know you from a bar of soap or not, they still want you to make them want you. They want to make sure that they're watching someone that's going to keep them entertained, even though it's a clogging routine. And
Yep.
it could be just like, yelling out, oh, let's add some claps, or, just half-heartedly without something that's never done before, like outhouses, put your arms out, just gives everyone a bit of a stress then giggle, it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole.
And it takes away from the seriousness, especially if you've got, newer people that they don't know the dance and they think, oh, I'm going to get it wrong. But when you throw something like that into it, they forget about whether they got the step or not because they're trying to do something else with it.
Yeah, it's like
So
Oliver's
tell
arms
me,
on the outhouse. I
yeah,
can't
that's
do
right.
it.
How about like, what do you do when you make a mistake? There are all sorts of mistakes that you can make. What's the
Well,
recovery?
I normally
I
say,
al-
whoop.
I always laugh, but you've got to try and recover so that people can keep
Yep.
dancing. You
I
know.
Yep.
think so. I think yes, admit to the mistake, oh no, right? But I try my best, even if I have to stop my feet for a while, to pick it up again rather than
That's
just
right.
completely giving up and saying, oh, that's it, the whole thing's done. Just like
Oh
to
yeah.
stay calm, just wait. There's bound to be a part of the song that usually there's going to be a part of the song that you'll know and you'll know what to cue, and you can get people back into it. And most likely, even though you're feeling bad, by the time you get to that song, the end of that song, the end of that routine, you've already forgotten about what you did in the middle, what you didn't do.
Of
Yep.
course. And it makes everyone else feel better if you make a mistake.
Yes, they love it.
I know. I think,
Remind them
yeah.
to say use mistakes now. They don't know what's right and what's wrong. Because I've had the ankle, I've been doing twisty vines, with the 8 balls. You do double step, blah, 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 blah. Well, I can't do that with my ankle anymore. I can't do that at all. Can't do twisty fours. So I do this little shuffle sideways, and now they're all starting to pick up that. But I'm going to do that. We're going to have to call it Neville's twisty, long twisty, or something else. You're not even twisting, you're just shuffling along to the side, and then you do a basic on the end. So people
Well,
pick up and they relax to that.
Yes.
well,
I think that
my
the bottom line is that you want people to relax.
yeah,
Yep.
my new cures have all been very cheeky because I made quite a few videos during COVID. I just cued a lot of dances for them, and it turned out I didn't even realize I was doing it. But when I was counting in a dance, I was swiveling my left heel left and right, when I was and they all do it now. When if they get up and do a dance, they all do the swivel at the start. And
Yep.
and one of the dances I say, and that's the end. And so whenever they get up in cue, they do the last step and they go, and that's the end. They think they're so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it sounds to me that if they can do that, they are feeling very comfortable with
No,
queuing.
yes, exactly. I'm shocked at how comfortable they feel actually when I think of how terrified I felt when I first started queuing.
We always
Well,
talk about, because a lot of routines end with Anna step. So
And
it's
then
always
step
like,
out.
Anna's back in this routine.
Back. Oh yeah. Well, before we wrap up, can each of you give some sort of, your closing words to anyone that's either thinking of queuing or maybe actually people that have not even thought about starting to queue? What are your thoughts for them? What knowledge do you have to impart? Yeah.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. Well, if clogging is going to continue in Australia, we need new queuers, because all the current queuers are going to drop off the perch soon enough.
Yep.
And the one of the quintessential things of clogging is that the steps are queued, and if we don't have people who are going to get up and queue the steps, we don't have any more clogging. So it's all very well wanting to choreograph dances and whatever, but if we can't get people who are going to get up and queue, we don't have any more clogging.
Or we'll
And
scare everyone. You now have to clog from memory. That's a scary thought.
well, yeah. And the hardest part is just starting. It's just making a start. Like with anything, the hardest part is just starting, doing it for the first time. And it's just practice. It's just practice.
And that's what I would reinforce as well. It's always going to be hard the first time you do it. Whether you do it in the garage by yourself, yelling to the garage door or something rather, or you mentor and someone, like some people are starting to cue without actually dancing, and that's fine. I find it a little bit frustrating, but I think if you're going to cue, you need to be able to dance. But if you want to start one way or the other, it's like tapping your head and rubbing your belly and clogging. Now, a lot of people can't do that, but I can clog and tap my head and rub my belly. And, it's meant to be just the two things. So, and then you can cue clogging as well while you're doing it. So it just takes time. It's building blocks. Clogging is all about building blocks, whether you're learning a routine or learning how to cue or teach or write a routine. You just got to start up with baby steps and then move from there and just take a breath. No one's going to get upset if you stuff up or anything.
No. And I think in the current clogging climate, probably I'm going to add this thought that I always have, is that cloggers are some of the most understanding and forgiving people that you come around, right? And if you're a new cure, the dancers are probably thinking, oh, I could never do that. That person is so brave. So when you stuff up, no one's going to get mad at you. No one's going to say, oh, that was dumb. In fact, I think people would admire you for, taking that step and helping clogging out by being a cure, by contributing in that way, because it is so needed right now, more cures.
I think people are just scared about making a fool of themselves, but we've all done it and we all continue to do it. And that's what you've got to laugh off.
And yes, it is difficult at the start to work out how to cue in advance of steps, but it's just practice. It's just doing it.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if you're at your local class, you can just practice the same dance every social, cue the same one for a few months, and then move on to something different.
And if you don't ever do it, you're never going to get better.
Nah, you never know if you never go.
And that's right, Nev.
Well, okay then. So hopefully after today, we'll have a few people think about it. Or maybe we'll have some leaders out there go pick on a few new people to try queuing in class, and we'll see some new faces at the next socials that we go to.
Yep.
But that's right. Leaders have to mentor people, because it's scary just putting yourself forward, and it's up to like this business of having competition. It's not a competition. We need more cures, so it's up to leaders to mentor people to step up.
Yeah,
I think that's the important thing to note.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Leaders, because that's how I started. I would never have gone and put my hand up and say, hey, I want to queue now. That's hardly anyone's going to do that. You have to go out and ask the people to give it a go.
And even after 30 years of queuing, I still get nervous. So,
Of course.
especially at conventions, it's all right with your own class. You muck around, you have jokes, but at conventions, all of us are nervous wrecks. So start off in your own class and have a bit of fun there, and then move on from there.
Okay. All right. That's good. I think we're going to run out of time soon. So I just really want to thank you for your time, Nev and Jan, today. So thank you for
Thanks
sharing
for
your
having me.
thoughts with us. And Jan, you're going to share again whenever you do some of these workshops. Remind us all to do queuing workshops.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, right. Okay.
Thank
It's a good
you.
idea. It's a good idea. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Amanda.